I was playing a strong chess tournament in Stockholm, Sweden, and in round number 10, I was playing a guy called Lo. Now, Lo was born in 2009, so he is probably 15 years old, unless his birthday is very late, and then he might be 14. But the reason I was smiling when I sat down to play this game was because I had actually faced Lo a few days before in a classical chess game, and he had completely destroyed me. And that was very sad because he took a lot of rating points from me, and I just felt like horrible after that game because he had just completely crushed me. And so I sat down here really thinking that I want to get revenge. Now, Lo is a strong player. He's young, he's rated over 1900, and in this tournament, he even managed to get a draw against the Grandmaster. So I knew that this would be a tough game. We shook hands, and then I started the clock. He played c4, which was the same move he played against me the other day, which I think is why he looked up at me. And I decided to not repeat the same opening because I had lost that game. So I played something else, and we were playing very fast here. It became almost a pretty symmetrical English opening. And yeah, now it's completely symmetrical, which is both easy and hard to play sometimes, I feel like. But yeah, this is called the symmetrical English. I castled, and he played a3 with the idea of playing b4. I played a5 to stop that, and then this is all very normal. I've played this position a million times. He played h3, I developed my bishop to e6, and then he played the move f4. I responded with f5, because I don't want him to be able to push his pawn even further and attack my bishop. So he spent a little bit of time calculating. There's a lot of different moves that you can do here, and he decided to centralize his knight. Knight d5. I played rook b8 with the idea of pushing my b pawn very soon. It's a very close position, but one thing that I really want to do is that I want to try to play b5 and open up that b file for my rook. And that is a very common idea in the symmetrical English for black. So he spent a little bit of time thinking, is he going to go now a4 to prevent me from doing that? Okay, well then the b4 square is going to be available to me forever, and his plans of going b4 are going to be over. So there's a lot of strategy happening right now, and I wasn't really sure what he was going to do. Was he going to take one of my central pawns? Okay, then he's going to be alleviating the pressure a little bit. I had over a minute more than him. I was really proud about my time management so far. And as you can see, these games are very short. It's only 3-minute games, so we had to play very fast. Luckily, though, we did get a 2-second increment per move. So, well, you can still flag, but hopefully it's a little bit harder to flag, even though I've flagged in the past in 3-minute games, obviously. But yeah, he spent quite a bit of time thinking here, and I was just super focused and wanting to win this game. Like, I really wanted to beat Lo after losing to him a few days prior. He still hadn't made a move. Only having a minute 20 now. And I think now he just kind of got annoyed and was like, okay, I gotta make a move. Like, what do I do? But he spent even more time thinking. Seeing his clock run down. And ultimately, with a little bit over a minute left, he played the move bishop d2. This wasn't really a scary move to face because, well, he was just simply developing his bishop. It was probably a really strong move, but I thought, okay, let me just continue with my plan. Let's go b5. He now traded the knights, and I had to take back. I decided to take back with the knight, because otherwise my knight would hang a bit loose, and then he traded pawns as well. And now I had the whole b file for myself, and I felt like I had a really nice position. So it was time for me now to find a way of capitalizing on the fact that I had a better position here. Was I gonna do that by attacking the queen? Was I gonna push the center, go something like d5? Was I gonna take one of his pawns? There were a lot of options here, and it was my turn now to figure out what the best option for me was. It was also my turn to do a little bit of a think. Here my time was going down as well. He kind of smiled when looking down at the time. Maybe he was happy that I was losing time as well. I ended up playing bishop b3, threatening the queen. Not really sure if this was the best move, but my idea was simply to play this move a4 and now have the pawn and the bishop control each other forever and just gain some space in this position. I thought his rooks cannot come to d1 anymore. The pawn on a5 is now on a4 and it's going to be strong. So I thought that this was quite nice, but I didn't really exactly know how to continue. He was threatening my bishop and I thought, okay, do I want to keep it? I thought I did want to keep it. I thought it would be nice for me to still have it because I right now have the bishop pair and it just didn't feel so nice to allow him to trade that knight for my bishop. But now my a4 pawn was a little bit weak. He played king h2, which felt like, even though it was a move that makes sense because he wanted to protect the h3 pawn, it wasn't really that scary of a move. I still had time to come up with my own plans. The idea of him, I think, was that if I took on e4, he wanted to be able to capture back with the bishop and not have the h3 pawn hanging. I was really using my time here to find the best way of continuing. I had a lot of different ideas. And ultimately, after having my time go down for a little bit, I went for the move bishop h6. The idea of bishop h6 is very simply the queen is on that diagonal and I want to maybe take on f4 at some point. Also, he had very little time, so I thought that the more kind of crazy stuff that happens, the better. Now he moved this queen, threatening to take my pawn, but I could now take his f4 pawn, and if he takes it back, I was going to take on e4, and then the f4 pawn was going to be hanging. So I saw here now that I was going to win this pawn, and that was also the idea of going bishop h6. So he captured my pawn on a5, on a4, sorry, and then my rook was hanging. I played queen b8, defending the rook, and now giving up this important e4 pawn. So this wasn't really according to plan. Now all of a sudden, my bishop was hanging. If I moved my bishop, my knight was hanging. My queen b8 move had not been good. I wished right now very badly that my queen was still in d8, but it wasn't. And so I had to figure out what to do. I had 47 seconds. He only had 13. I thought this can't be that hard. But I think, yeah, he just kind of realized that all of a sudden the position was completely crazy. Like, both him and I could win this position. It seemed as if I had been putting pressure before it, but now he was back in the game. So he only had 9 seconds left. Was he going to be able to capitalize on it? He brought out his knight. And now it was time for me to save the fact that my knight and bishop had been kind of hanging. I could now move up my knight to f5. He was very stressed by the clock. 4 seconds. He pushed up his pawn. I went bishop c4, threatening a pin. And after he took my pawn on c5, I spent a little bit of time thinking because my bishop was hanging. I decided to take it back with the rook, defending my bishop and threatening to go rook e8. He moved up his knight. With only a couple seconds, I threatened his queen. And now I, out of mistake, blundered that he could take this in between, which is a crazy move. I was now calculating what happens if I take the queen. Well, yes, knight takes h6. But I thought, okay, that should be fine for me. My king can escape. But now we were playing this crazy position. We had all these minor pieces versus my very bad king. But he blundered the knight. I was so happy that he had blundered it. I felt now I'm back in the game. Bishop e2, threatening the rook. I was going kind of back and forth. He was defending everything. I took the pawn. Completely crazy, but I was winning now. So now I just wanted to trade everything off as much as I could. I played queen e5, threatening the rook. I went back and forth, threatening the rook. I thought this has to be an easy win, but his rook and bishop were very strong against my king somehow. I didn't believe how, but they were just coordinating very well, and it felt like my pieces were just not doing so well. We were playing all these moves with just seconds on the clock. 2, 1, and here! His time went down, and I won the game. So it was a completely crazy game that had so many back and forths, but ultimately at the end I was able to win as his time ran down. I did have a winning position there, but it definitely felt very scary with his pieces against my king, even though the eval bar was saying that I was much better because I was up in material. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.